Hello everyone. I wanted to go over some basic operations using Microsoft Excel. What I put together here is a typical scenario of, say if you're on a family vacation or you're trying to track mileage on it and for a trucking company. I put together 10 days, the starting and ending odometer readings, and I know how many gallons of fuel or gasoline I've used over that period or for each day. First thing I want to do is I want to calculate the mileage. Typically what you would do is you would take and subtract the starting odometer reading from the ending odometer reading and come up with an amount. What I actually want to do to use Excel properly is I want to hit the equal sign to turn on the math operation, and then I'm going to select the ending odometer reading, and then I'm going to subtract the starting odometer reading and hit enter. What that does is it takes the value of whatever is in that each of those cells and does that operation regardless of what is actually in those cells. I could change this number here to 56,200, hit enter, and all of a sudden the mileage changes, if you've noticed that. That would be the proper way to use Excel. Another thing, another way to do this is you could just type in, calculate it out on the calculator and type it in there, but that would be the incorrect way to use Excel. You get the right answer, of course, but you wouldn't be using the power of Excel. For the next one, we want to do the same thing. Take the ending odometer reading and subtract the beginning odometer reading, and you come up with 440. Now there's actually easier way to do this. Say if you had thousands of records, you wouldn't want to do it all by hand. You wouldn't want to do it manually. Instead, what you'd want to do is you click up on here and you notice that you have the whole cell highlighted. It also shows in the formula bar up here, it tells you, shows the operation you have. But what you'd want to do is actually go to the corner. You'll see a little square. And this gives you a drag handle operation. And you press down on your index finger and your mouse, the left mouse button, and then you can drag. See how I'm dragging down over? I can drag this as far as I want. Well, I'm going to drag this down and then let go, and now Excel is smart enough, it's done the operation for me. Notice how the row reference changes up in this function box. The next thing we want to do is we want to calculate the total number of miles that we traveled through for the whole trip. Now I could easily go in and say equals this plus this plus this plus this plus this plus this and so on, and it would come up with a number. But that would be a really crude and very crude way to use Excel. Wouldn't be the best way. It's not the best solution. The best solution is to actually use, if you're trying to come up with a total or a sum, is to use a function. What you do is you hit the equal sign. I know that the sum function is SUM, put in a parenthesis here, and I want to calculate everything that's in that cell. I hit enter, and it comes up with my number. I know this is correct because, see, if I highlight all of this, if I go down to the very lower right hand corner of the bottom of the Excel window, it tells me how many cells I'm counting, which is 10, the sum, and it tells me the average. Kind of gives me a hint as to what are the totals or amounts that are in the group that I've selected. Another way to do that is to go up to the auto sum feature. If you click the down arrow here, it'll give you the average, count of numbers, the maximum number in a group, and the minimum number in a group, and then there's obviously more functions than that. But this is the most common people use, so it gives you a real quick drop down menu. I'm going to hit the sum. It thinks that it wants all of this, and I'm going to hit enter. So that's a real quick way of doing it. The other way to do it would be to highlight all of this as well as the empty cell, hit auto sum, and it calculates that for you. Same difference with the average. Average does the same thing. If I hit the equal sign, actually rather than doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and use the quick solution average in the group up here and hit average. Highlight all this, hit average. And it gives me a very large number. The problem with that is that it gave me the average and it also included the total. So I don't want to do that. I want to actually only grab this information and do the average that way. So I'm going to go up here to my my function bar here and change that to D11. Notice how the blue box now shows me the correct numbers to calculate. Hit enter, and now it's given me an average. I know that it's correct because it tells me down here that the average is 349.9. Right? Next thing we want to do is calculate the miles per gallon. The way to calculate miles per gallon is for each day. So you take the number of miles and you divide that by the total gallons that you have for each day. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a simple operation, hit the equal sign to turn on the math function, and then select the mileage. We're going to divide that by the number of gallons, and we're going to hit enter. Now what has happened here? Because this number, if I highlight over that number, you see that it says 20.71038251366. It's a very large number. Okay, it's too big to fit in the cell, and so it gives me an error, and that error is a bunch of pound signs. In order to fix that, I need to actually widen the cell. One of the ways I can do that is I can go up here between the F and the G, and you'll notice a vertical line with an arrow pointing in both directions. That allows me to stretch that out. I can stretch it way out here, and that would give me the right cell reference. But there's a quicker way, and all you have to do is, when you do that, highlight it, double click it, and it brings it to the exact size of the number. Okay. If you have a lot of cells that are too small in a spreadsheet and you want them all to be that way, you go up here to the very corner, click that, you select everything, pick one of them, it doesn't matter which one, double click, and all of the cells will adjust in size. The same would work for the rows as well. Now that's a very large, it's not a very large number, but there are several places beyond the decimal point. And I only want to know, say, the first one or two beyond the decimal point. Say I want to know just to the hundredths. So in order to fix that, I go up here to the numbers group and I reduce the number of places. See, this one makes it larger, this one makes it smaller. So I want to reduce it down to just 2. Okay. And of course I'm going to go and I'm going to use my drag function and fill in the rest of them. I'm going to resize my cell, my column, so everything fits in there and it's nice and neat. Okay. Let's also figure out the total gallons. Hit the auto sum, enter, that's my total gallons. One of the things I might want to know is for each day, what is the percentage over the entire trip? What is the percentage of miles that I traveled each day? Obviously I traveled more miles than others, but I want to know over the entire trip what the percentage of each day was over the entire trip, over the 10-day period. So I'm going to add a row, or a column here. So I'm going to add it right there. I'm going to say insert, and it's going to move everything over. I'm going to call this percent miles. I'm going to get off of that. Now obviously what's in the function bar is too large, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it the appropriate size by double clicking it. Alright, so the easiest way to calculate this would be to take the number of miles for one day, which is this one, so I'm going to hit the equal sign, number of miles, and then I'm going to divide it by the total. Oops, sorry. Divided by, hit the divide sign, then by the total, and that gives me an amount. Now, of course, I don't want that amount in a decimal, so I want to change it to percent. I go up here to my numbers group, hit percent, and it tells me that it's 11%. I want to know a little bit more about it, so I'm going to click this one and add a little bit better percentage so it gives me beyond the decimal point. Now, we know that the drag operation works, so we're going to drag this down, and let's see what happens if I do this. Well, it gives me a bunch of errors. The reason it gives me a bunch of errors, this particular error means that I'm dividing by 0, and it's a math operation that's illegal to use. So it's saying, it's saying that I'm taking whatever's in D3 and I'm dividing it by whatever is D13. Well, it's an empty cell. What it did is it took the relative value and divided that relative value. I mean, it basically literally took whatever is in this cell and tried to divide that by that empty cell. That won't work. So what we're going to need to do, let's delete these. We're going to actually do the absolute value. We need the absolute value. We need to lock that in when we drag them. So I'm going to go up here to this cell. I'm going to take D12 and I'm going to toggle on the absolute value. In order to do that, you hit F4. See what happens? Now I have a $sign on the column and the row. If I hit F4 again, now it toggles to just the row, not the column. Hit F4 again. Now it toggles to just the column, not the row. And then I hit F4 again, and it takes the absolute value setting off. I'm going to hit it one more time and turn that on. Hit Enter. Nothing's changed. Now when I drag it, it should populate appropriately. Now we're going to check this to make sure that it's accurate. It should total up, all these percentages should total up to 1. Hit Auto Sum, Enter, and lo and behold, we have 100%. So that is the base. That is some of the basic operations of using Excel. If you obviously there's not a lot to it, but I've tried to show you some of the correct ways to use Excel, and hopefully you can take advantage of this. Thanks.